Graduating alone, the incredible moment a single mum changed a paralyzed billionaire CEO's life, the crowd bubbled with excitement. Laughter echoed, weaving through the air as families gathered, their joy palpable. Yet, one voice resonated above the rest. Sarah's. Her sun-kissed hair, tousled but shining, framed a face etched with determination and love. She clutched her diploma as if it were a golden ticket, the culmination of years of sacrifice to give her kids, Jamie and Lily, a better life. The moment was supposed to be hers. But as she stepped onto that stage, she felt the weight of the world. A roller coaster of emotion surged within her. Across town, in a gilded high-rise, David felt it, an ache deeper than physical paralysis. His high-rise walls felt more like prison bars. Despite the luxury surrounding him, he was trapped. Watching the graduation ceremony on a muted television, he saw Sarah. The camera zoomed in on the sweat on her brow, the determination in her eyes. He was a billionaire, but in this moment, he felt small. Somehow, her triumph made him question everything he had built. As her name echoed through the hall, Sarah's heart soared. The honor was for Jamie and Lily, their future shining bright. She spotted them proudly waving at her, little hands bouncing, and she couldn't help but grin. She was doing it. This was more than a diploma, it was hope, a beacon for others battling their demons. The power of family surged through her, a pulsing reminder of why she fought so fiercely. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the dim light of his penthouse, David felt tears sting his eyes, a sensation he hadn't felt in years. Here was a single mother who embodied everything he had lost sight of: family, commitment, the raw strength to rise above adversity. When she extended her hand to another graduate with a disability, a spark ignited in him. The crowd burst into applause. Sarah was leading from the front, redefining what true success really meant, but intrigue morphed into controversy when David announced his plans to fund programs that would help struggling families like Sarah's. His affluent colleagues scoffed, debating if he was out of touch with reality. He doesn't understand. We aren't charities, they hissed in disgust. But with each challenge hurled toward him, David's decision crystallized. He refused to retreat, feeling drawn back to the validation Sarah had found. The strength of a community echoed in his mind, a hope that whispered change was possible. As he watched Sarah embrace the graduates, he realized that in stepping away from his penthouse bubble, he might just find freedom again. Would he dare to confront the mounting criticisms from his elite world? Or would he remain a prisoner of privilege, clinging to status over substance? Just as her laughter melted the distance between their worlds, David faced a choice that would weave their fates together, igniting a new hope. The air was electric, humming with possibility. Sarah stepped off the stage, diploma still in hand, and the weight of her world began to shift. The applause faded into a soft murmur as she made her way through the throng of family and friends. It wasn't merely a piece of paper, it was validation, an affirmation that the long nights spent studying were worth every moment. Jamie rushed towards her, his little feet pounding against the ground, and she knelt down, enveloping him in her arms. "Mom! You did it!" he squeaked, his eyes shimmering. They glinted with the wonder of a child who didn't fully grasp the sacrifices but felt the joy nonetheless. She smiled, her heart swelling, squeezing him tighter. Lily stood shyly behind, her little curls bouncing as she edged closer. "Can I hold it?" she asked, pointing at the diploma. "Of course, sweetheart," Sarah laughed gently, handing it over. In that moment, her world was painted in soft pastels: hope, joy, and a future brimming with possibility. As Sarah soaked in the warmth of her children, she felt a quiet resolve building within her. This victory was just the beginning. She could create pathways, not only for her kids but for others like them. The more she thought about it, the more certain she became. She was destined for something greater than just being a single mom. She wanted to lead the charge and change the narrative for struggling families. Meanwhile, David tapped his fingers nervously on the arm of his wheelchair in the cold silence of his penthouse. He was conditioned to ignore the whispers of discontent from his peers, yet today they lodged like thorns in his mind. He could feel their judgment acutely, sealing him inside a chamber of doubt. Were they right? Was he out of touch? But when memories of Sarah's graduation flooded back, a determined fire ignited in his chest. He watched that moment of pure pride, witnessed the strength in her eyes as she reached out to support those on the periphery, the ones who fought against their own storms. If her triumph could resonate so deeply within him, he could join the fight for change too. He began drafting plans to host community meetings, reach out to local charities, to invite families like Sarah's to share their stories. Maybe he could convince his colleagues that investing in communities was not just charity, it was smart business. As he scrolled through news articles about social programs, the criticisms echoed louder, but he remained resolute. He could no longer be a king in an ivory tower. He needed to dig deep, to connect beyond superficial handshakes and social galas. A flurry of excitement surged through him as he envisioned the first gathering. Suddenly, the journey didn't seem nearly as daunting as it once had. Together, he and Sarah might redefine what success looked like for both the elite and the underprivileged. And so, as the sun dipped low, painting the city in hues of orange and pink, both his and Sarah's fates began to intertwine, but the question loomed: would they be brave enough to embrace the leap of faith that awaited them? The moment drew closer, where decisions would crunch like gravel underfoot, leading them into unknown territory. Would they forge a path toward transformation, or would fear keep them rooted in their respective corners? Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. As they made their way to the parking lot, Jamie still bubbling with excitement, she pulled Lily close, resting her chin atop her daughter's curly head. "What do you think, sweetie? Should we celebrate?" Lily beamed up at her, her big eyes shining. "Ice cream," she declared, as if it were the most logical conclusion. "Absolutely. Ice cream it is." Sarah laughed, her heart still fluttering from the day's events. Each moment felt precious, like the sun-kissed warmth of a summer afternoon. As they climbed into the car, a sense of purpose washed over her. She turned to Jamie, who was busy buckling himself into the back seat. "You guys know I want to help other families, too, right?" Jamie nodded, his small face serious. "You can help them like you helped me learn to ride my bike." "That's exactly it," she said, feeling the spark of inspiration. If she could give her kids confidence and strength, surely she could extend that to others struggling just the same. It was time for her to step up, to channel all the love and energy she had for her own children into a community endeavor. In the midst of her excitement, another thought emerged. Would David, the man she barely knew, be interested in collaborating? His enthusiasm was palpable, she could sense the drive behind his plans. Perhaps they could combine their efforts, start something bigger than either could do alone. But the idea sent a tingle of anxiety through her. Would he even be willing to partner with someone like her? Meanwhile, David was plotting a different course. He had sent out emails to potential partners before the graduation began, meticulously crafting each message to extend a genuine invitation to those willing to share their stories. Each ping of his phone felt electric against the silence of his apartment. He was reaching out to therapists, educators, single parents, gathering a chorus of voices that had never been amplified. Their struggles echoed in his ears, each one a thread he wanted to weave into a powerful tapestry of hope. As the sun slipped below the horizon, David's heart raced. What if he could do this? What if he could create a platform that allowed people to feel seen and heard? But who would actually show up? What if no one cared? Hours passed filled with anticipation, and just when he thought he wouldn't get any responses, his phone buzzed. A reply. When he opened it, a smile broke across his face. It was a parent, eager to share his story. With every notification that chimed in, David felt closer to something monumental. He couldn't help but think of Sarah's radiant smile and her children's joyful laughter. Maybe this was all connected. Later that night, as Sarah and her kids finished their ice cream, Jamie asked, "Mom, do you really think you can make it better for other families?" She looked into her son's hopeful eyes and felt the weight of responsibility anchor her spirit. "I have to try, don't I? For all of us." That promise lingered in the air around them. It was a shared commitment to fight against the odds, to push through the fear and uncertainty. As both Sarah and David laid their heads down that night, thoughts of the next day filled their minds. Tomorrow, their paths could cross, and a whole new journey could begin. Would they recognize the spark of potential within each other, or would their insecurities hold them back? The dawn was approaching, and with it, the promise of a new alliance, one that could change everything. As the sun peeked through the curtains, Sarah woke up with a renewed sense of determination. Today felt heavy with possibilities, like the stillness right before a summer storm. She brushed her fingers through Lily's curls, gently coaxing her awake, while Jamie was already bouncing with energy, ready for whatever adventures awaited them that day. After breakfast, Sarah took a deep breath. Today was the day she would reach out to David. She had spent the night crafting her thoughts into words that made sense. They weren't just hopes, they were a plan. As she typed, her fingers hesitated over the screen. What if he thought her ideas were silly? What if he didn't take her seriously? But then she remembered the look of excitement in Jamie's eyes and the laughter that had filled their home over ice cream the night before. She tapped send and felt a surge of adrenaline. Meanwhile, David was at his desk, caffeine fueling the fire of inspiration within him. Since the tweets and emails had pinged in, interest had grown. Voices were beginning to culminate into something tangible, something real. He could feel momentum building, and with each story shared, he found his passion reigniting, but there was still a piece missing. As he scrolled through various profiles and testimonials, something pulled at him, an inkling that he needed someone with life experience, someone who had faced adversity and emerged stronger. That thought nagged him until his phone chimed with an incoming message. It was Sarah. His heartbeat quickened. Curiosity drew him in, and he opened the email. Each line resonated deeply. She spoke of community, connection, and compassion, the very essence of what he wanted to establish. She expressed an eagerness to collaborate, to dive headlong into this endeavor together. Had she sensed his need? His heart raced at the idea of working alongside her, but uncertainty crept in again. Did she really think he could make a difference? A sudden flood of doubt rushed through him. The protagonist in his own story painted a picture of helplessness, while Sarah's ambitions illuminated paths he'd never considered. The thought danced around in his mind, pulling him from anxious doubts. They shared a common goal, and the spark between them could ignite something extraordinary. David was aware that such alliances come with risks, but as he sat there, he felt the warm embrace of possibility. "Let us meet," he typed back, his fingers clicking eagerly against the screen, to discuss this further. As the day wore on, Sarah prepared for her first meeting in this new venture. There was a frenzy of emotions swirling within her: excitement, fear, hope. She wanted to present herself well, to show David just how much their collaboration could mean for their community. As she gathered her notes and chosen words, a sense of calm washed over her. Now, armed with purpose, she could focus on what truly mattered, helping others. When the hour approached, Sarah stepped out into the bustling streets and felt alive with anticipation. The city was vibrant, and its energy aligned with her own. Each step brought her closer to the cafe where they agreed to meet. She arrived early, her heart racing with excitement and nerves. Would David see her potential? Would he share her dreams? Just as her thoughts began to circle, David walked in, tall and focused. Their eyes locked, and just like that, Every doubt faded into the background, surrounded by the aroma of coffee and the buzz of conversation. They were ready to begin this new chapter. Would they both realize the weight of their shared mission? Could Sarah truly inspire the change that both of them longed for? This was more than a meeting, it was the ignition of a dream. The spark was there, but would they sustain the flame? The minutes felt like hours as they settled into the cafe. Sarah's nerves danced inside her, but she kept her expression neutral, wanting to convey confidence. She ordered a latte, the familiar ritual calming her frayed edges. David sat across from her, confidence emanating from him, though she could see flickers of his own apprehension. "Thanks for meeting with me," Sarah began, her fingers curling around the warm mug. "I really believe we can create something special together." David nodded, his gaze steady. "I'm excited too. Your email inspired me. You have a real vision for this." The way he said it sent a ripple of warmth through her. They weren't just discussing ideas, they were merging dreams. As they dived deeper into conversation, ideas flowed easily like water gushing over a dam, ideas tumbling out organically. "We could start with community workshops," she proposed, feeling the excitement in her gut. "Bringing people together to share their experiences. It would foster understanding and support." David's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. And we could tie in social media, create online platforms to extend the reach." As the exchange became more dynamic, Sarah noticed David leaning forward, his passion igniting with every word she spoke. It was infectious. The cafe buzzed around them, but in that moment, they were in their own world, yet, a cloud of anxiety lingered at the edges of her thoughts. Sarah's past loomed like a shadow, reminding her of moments where hope crumbled into frustration. Would they be able to push through obstacles together? She gathered her courage to voice the concern. "What if things don't go as planned? I've had ideas fall flat before." David's expression softened. "We can't predict every outcome. But we can adapt and learn. You're not alone in this." His reassurance felt like a lifeline. She smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I just want to make a difference. For my kids, for everyone who has ever felt lost." "Then we'll make sure that happens," he replied, conviction laced through his tone. "This mission, it matters more than we realize." As they laid the foundation for their project, Sarah felt as though something profound was emanating from this connection. What started as a simple meeting morphed into a catalyst for change both within their lives and their community, but amid the excitement, a familiar doubt whispered in Sarah's mind. Could they really take this leap together? Would it transcend their expectations, or would it devolve like previous ambitions? Just as she was about to voice her growing fears, David leaned in closer, his voice low, and charged with sincerity. "I want you to know, I believe in what you're aiming for. A journey like this, it takes courage." Courage. That word clung to the air between them, rattling her with its weight as it sunk in. They were stepping into uncharted territory, but could courage be enough to fuel this dream into reality? Just then, a commotion at the cafe's entrance drew her attention. A small group entered, laughter trailing behind them, and she felt a twinge of envy mixed with hope. What if she could create that kind of joy for others? David followed her gaze, noticing the joyous group. "You see? That's what we're reaching for. We can build that community, laughter, connection." His gaze held hers, and the air crackled between them, pulsating with the unspoken possibilities of what lay ahead. However, Sarah felt a sudden pang of uncertainty. Just how deep was this connection? The dealer of dreams stood in their midst, but was Sarah ready to gamble everything on another person? The stakes felt higher than ever now, her heart raced, torn between doubts and the thrill of what could be. The cafe hummed around them, but in that moment, everything felt silent, heavy with promise. As she searched David's eyes for answers, she wondered, could they really forge a path together, or was it a fantasy waiting to unravel? Warmth from the cafe enveloped them, and Sarah took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. David leaned back slightly, sipping his coffee, giving her a moment to collect herself. The laughter from the group still echoed in her ears, but it faded just a little as she fixed her gaze on him. She needed to clear the fog clouding her thoughts. "David," she said, hesitantly. "What if we both fail? What if it all falls apart?" Her heart throbbed with uncertainty, and she could feel her breath quickening. It was a risk one she was scared to take and yet desperately wanted to embrace. That he paused, seemingly weighing her words. "Then we adapt, we learn in the process," he replied earnestly. "Failure isn't the end, it can be just the beginning of something better." His response didn't settle her fears, but it did spark a flicker of hope. She wanted to believe him. But in the quiet recesses of her mind, her insecurities danced like specters, haunting her with memories of dreams shattered before they even began. "What gives you so much faith?" she asked, curiosity pulling her in. "What's driving you?" David shifted in his seat, his demeanor changing slightly as he opened up. "I've had my own battles," he confessed slowly, a shadow crossing his face. "I built my company after starting in a garage. I faced rejection more times than I can count, but every no made me more determined to find a yes. Every struggle taught me something valuable." His words resonated, unraveling the knots of doubt tightly wound in her heart. Was it possible they shared the same shade of strength? Inspiration swept through her, layered with the heavy yet comforting reality of their shared vulnerabilities. The cafe buzzed with conversations around them, but Sarah felt pulled into a bubble, just them two dreamers dissecting their fears and hopes. "I guess if we're going to do this," she began, her voice steadying. "Then we need to be open. About everything." "I agree," David nodded, his warmth resurfacing, rekindling her courage. "I think transparency will help us build trust. And we can be accountable to each other." An idea sparked in her mind. "What if we document our journey?" she suggested. "We could share our ups and downs. Include our community in the process. It'll be raw but real." David's eyes twinkled with enthusiasm. "I love that. Think about the connections we could forge. People need to see that it's okay to struggle and not have it all figured out." For the first time that day, Sarah laughed softly. "We might just create a reality show without even intending to." Their shared laughter generated a physical warmth that felt comforting. Yet, as the joy flashed across her face, a thought struck her: was she ready for this unpredictable path they were stepping onto together? The thought plagued her as they forged ahead with ideas and concepts, pushing boundaries of what their project could become. But somewhere in the depths of her heart flickered a dangerous spark of enthusiasm. She couldn't help it, the more they planned, the more she felt alive, but as the day wore on, she felt the weight of her past creeping closer, eager to pull her back into a cycle of doubt. She knew better than to ignore it. "David," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "I have a lot of baggage. Things I've dealt with that aren't just business failures, they're personal." "Then let's face them together," he reassured. "We can't build something meaningful if we don't confront what haunts us." His look was unwavering, and in that instant, she understood that he wasn't just a business partner, he was someone who might truly understand her struggles. As the cafe's chatter faded into the background, she met his eyes again, feeling as if their fates were intertwining in ways neither of them could predict. The stakes were high, yet something bright shone ahead of them. Could confronting her demons alongside David lead them beyond mere transactions of business? Could they perhaps uncover a deeper bond forged over shared resilience and courage? Just as she was ready to take another leap into the conversation, something caught her eye. A woman at a nearby table was staring intently at them, her expression shifting from curiosity to surprise. What was she thinking? Did she know something they didn't? Before Sarah could voice her intrigue, the woman stood up, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Excuse me," the woman approached, her tone somehow urgent. "I couldn't help but overhear. I think you might want to hear what I have to say." As Sarah's heart raced, the question loomed large: what revelation could this stranger bring to their table? With the air thick with possibility, she couldn't help but wonder, would it open doors to new paths, or would it threaten everything they were trying to build? The woman's presence loomed over them like a storm cloud. Sarah and David exchanged quick glances, a mix of curiosity and apprehension in their eyes. The cafe buzzed around them, but it felt like the rest of the world had faded away. "What do you mean?" David asked, his voice calm, but the tension in Sarah's chest made her cheeks flush. She could feel her heart thumping, louder than the clatter of cups on tables nearby. The woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, though it still carried the weight of urgency. "I overheard your conversation about failure, about taking risks. My name is Lisa." She pointed to the corner of her mouth, and Sarah noticed a small scar there, one perhaps earned from her own struggles through life. "I was once in a position just like yours, facing fears head-on, questioning every step. And that led me to something extraordinary." Sarah's curiosity piqued. "Extraordinary? How?" Lisa took a deep breath, her expression softening. "I was a single mother working 3 jobs, and I thought I wouldn't get anywhere. But through a series of unexpected events, I found myself helping a billionaire CEO who had lost everything. Paralyzed by fear and an accident, he felt trapped. My becoming part of his life changed his trajectory forever." "What happened?" Sarah leaned forward, captivated. The echoes of the past faded, replaced by the thrill of possibility. "Through helping him reclaim his life, I discovered my own strength. We didn't just change each other's lives, we rebuilt our paths from the ashes of our struggles. It was messy and hurt at times, but it brought us both together in a way I never imagined." David let out a low whistle. "That sounds unreal. How can someone's struggle lead to such success?" Lisa smiled, her warmth cutting through the seriousness of the moment. "Because sometimes, change comes in the most unexpected ways. All it takes is a willingness to be vulnerable and share your fears with someone else. You have a choice: you can choose to embrace the chaos of it all. Don't wait too long, or the opportunity might pass." Sarah felt a clarity wash over her, as if a fog had lifted. Here was a tangible example of resilience, of the power in connecting with others through struggles. "So, what you're saying is, we can't be afraid of reaching out, even if it makes us uncomfortable?" "Exactly. You might be surprised at what happens when you do. And don't underestimate the impact your journey can have on others. The way you decide to face your fears might just ignite a fire in someone else." David nodded, his eyes gleaming with understanding. "We're already thinking about sharing our journey, but now it feels like there's even more potential. But what if we fail?" Sarah couldn't help but throw that fear out once again, another barrier to overcome. Lisa looked deeply into her eyes, as if seeing into her soul. "Then you fail standing, you learn standing. You rise. That's the point, isn't it? You can't build something meaningful on just victories alone." The weight of Lisa's words settled around them, an unexpected warmth forging a bond among 3 strangers who seemed to see each other clearly. The world outside the cafe was bright and busy, but inside their bubble, everything felt right. Sarah took a chance. "What changes, really, if we put ourselves out there? If we commit to this journey together?" "Everything," David replied, confidence returning to his voice. There was a glimmer in his smile that ignited the spark she felt earlier, but just as excitement began to swell in her heart, Lisa's phone buzzed violently on the table, pulling her focus away. She frowned slightly as she glanced down. "I really need to take this. But promise me you'll think about what I said. You're on the edge of something incredible." With that, she stepped away, talking softly into her phone as she moved to the far corner of the cafe. In her absence, Sarah and David turned back to each other, the unspoken words hanging heavily between them. "Did that just happen?" Sarah asked, half laughing, half shocked. "Yeah," he murmured. contemplating the older woman's message. But maybe she's right. We're on the brink of a leap. Taking a risk began to feel more tangible, more like a possibility rather than just a terrifying abyss. But as Sarah considered what lay ahead, a different apprehension crept in. What if the forthcoming leap forced them to confront buried truths about themselves? Could they remain true to the path they decommitted to if the struggle became overwhelming? While the cafe hummed around them, a flicker of doubt resurfaced at the edge of their newfound resolve. Would they truly harness the courage to face everything waiting in the shadows? As the question settled uncomfortably between them, they couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Yet another thought lingered: who were they outside of their professional ambitions? Would a deeper connection change everything about this project and about them? As they exchanged tentative glances, the future seemed less certain than ever, a canvas waiting to be painted with all their fears and dreams. Would they be ready to turn it into a masterpiece? Suddenly, Sarah saw Lisa motioning for them to join her, her phone call clearly over. Whatever revelation she had, it came with urgency, mixed with a sense of fate. Would this conversation hold the key to their transformation, or reveal the vulnerabilities lurking just beneath the surface? The moment Sarah and David approached Lisa, the weight of their previous conversation lingered in the air like a tightly coiled spring. Lisa's face bore a mixture of excitement and concern, the lines around her eyes deepening as she waved them closer. "Thanks for coming back," she said, her voice slightly breathless. "I want to share something that might help you both." As they settled at the table, Sarah couldn't ignore the flicker of anxiety in her chest. What could Lisa possibly know that would change everything? David seemed equally eager but held a steady composure. "Okay," he encouraged, leaning towards her. "After we worked together, I didn't just help him overcome his paralysis. I discovered something amazing about myself. It wasn't just about what I could do for him, it was about the person I became in the process." Lisa took a deep breath, her hands intertwining on the table. But it came with its own set of challenges: betrayals, panic, missteps. "I think it's important you understand that those are all part of the experience." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her brows furrowed as she searched for clarity. Lisa nodded, seemingly anticipating the question. "There were moments when I thought everything would fall apart. I faced people who didn't believe in me. I had to learn how to trust others, even when trusting felt like stepping into a void. It was terrifying but exhilarating too." "How did you push through that?" David inquired, his voice steady but filled with interest. "By realizing it was okay to be afraid. I embraced that fear. I stopped pretending I had all the answers and honestly, I sought out friends, relationships that challenged me." Lisa's gaze drifted to the window, where people moved about, oblivious to the life-changing revelations unfolding just a few feet away. "I put myself out there, and it made all the difference." Sarah felt a flicker of inspiration dance inside her. "So you took risks in your personal life too? Like in your work?" "Absolutely," Lisa replied, her eyes lighting up. "Every time I thought I was at my lowest, I connected with someone, whether it was through a group meeting, a spontaneous lunch with a neighbor, or even online forums. Those relationships took me to places I never thought I'd go. It's all about giving yourself the chance to grow. What if it turns out badly?" David's voice was soft but intense. "What if the connections we make aren't what we hope for?" "Then you learn," Lisa said firmly. "You learn and grow from the pain. You don't let it define you." At that moment, Sarah felt something shift inside her. It was as if Lisa had unlocked a door in her mind, revealing a world where vulnerability could pave the way for strength. But the shadows of doubt still loomed large. "What if we're not ready?" she whispered, the words escaping before she could catch them. "Then do it anyway," Lisa urged, her eyes boring into Sarah's. "You might surprise yourself. Remember, the right connections can lead to unexpected joy. You could help each other rise. Trust in that process." The cafe felt quieter now, the buzz around them fading as they absorbed Lisa's words. They were on the brink of something transformative, yet the thought of stepping into the unknown thrummed in Sarah's veins like a drum. But then a fleeting thought struck her: would this journey reveal truths about themselves they weren't ready to face? Would Scott their project survive if they cracked open old wounds? David caught her eye, and there was a silent exchange, an unspoken promise. They would face things together, wouldn't they? Do you see now what a risk can achieve? Lisa smiled, breaking the bubble of their thoughts. Embrace it. You can form a bond through the fear. As they broke eye contact with Lisa, Sarah felt hope emerging from the ashes of anxiety. There was a leap ahead that could elevate them beyond their bounds. But what if it revealed parts of them that didn't fit the mold? Lisa gathered her things, standing up to leave as she glanced back. Remember what I said. Take the leap. As she disappeared into the crowd, Sarah turned to David. Her heart racing. Are we really brave enough to do this? Let's find out together, David said quietly, a flicker of determination in his voice, but even as they steeled themselves for action, the shadows still hung behind them, whispering doubts that would not be easily silenced. What if beneath the surface, their true selves turned out to be more than they could bear? In that moment of uncertainty, a decision loomed large before them. What lay ahead was uncharted territory, with the potential to reshape their lives forever. Would they find the courage to step into the shadows, or would fear hold them back? The cafe felt like a cozy cocoon, yet Sarah sensed the restless energy in the air. She looked across the table at David, his expression a duel of determination and doubt. The aroma of coffee wrapped around them like a warm blanket, but it could do little to ease the tension buzzing in her chest. Let us imagine what would happen if we did take that leap, David suggested, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling between them. What if we really try to connect with Scott? What if he not only becomes an inspiration but a friend? Sarah swallowed hard, lost in thought. The weight of those possibilities pressed down, both thrilling and terrifying. But what if he pushes us away? What if we don't fit into his world? He's a billionaire, David. He wouldn't even look twice at us. Hang on, he interrupted, leaning closer, his intensity igniting a flicker of hope in her. You heard what Lisa said. It's not about status. It's about raw honesty. If we show him real vulnerability, maybe he would respond to that. A silence fell between them, punctuated only by the clinking cups around them. Sarah's mind raced. She thought about Scott, the man behind the curtain of wealth and privilege who was dealing with more than just the paralysis. What if we approached him with our own stories first? Sarah mused, her voice trembling slightly. What if we can share our struggles and fears? Maybe he wouldn't feel so isolated. David smiled, a genuine brightness spreading across his face. I think that's a great idea. But we need to prepare. We don't just dive in without knowing what we want to achieve. It was comforting to think of a plan, something to hold on to in this sea of uncertainty. They could prepare a presentation, share their mission, and pull at his heartstrings. Yet, with each plan, the delicate thread of fear tugged at Sarah's thoughts. What if going in with their own vulnerabilities only opened the floodgates? But what lay in wait if they didn't try? The realization hit her, carrying a weight of its own. Hobbling in indecision meant losing the chance of transformation. What if Sarah began, her voice rising with new conviction, what if Scott isn't the only one who needs this? What if sharing our experiences inspires us too? Maybe we'll find strength we didn't know we had. Exactly. David said, his excitement palpable. This could be our chance to shed some layers. We're not just helping him, this could be a journey for us. One that sparks growth. Sarah didn't just hear the words, she felt their resonance deep within. Boldness began to seep into her veins, pushing back against the shadows of fear. Then let us do it. Let us come up with a clear message. We make those connections, grow together, and maybe we even redefine ourselves in the process. With the determination settling in, they started brainstorming ideas that flowed between them, the atmosphere around them shifting as inspiration filled the space. Each suggestion opened up new possibilities, sharing their pasta dinners and movie marathons, recounting their fears and dreams. It was thrilling to consider, almost electric, but as they sketched notes, laughs and ideas sparking creatively, a sobering truth crept back in. "Do you think Scott will let us in?" Sarah whispered, her excitement shadowed once again by doubt. "What if he doesn't want to connect?" David paused, the smile fading slightly. "Then we have to find a way to break down those barriers. We show him that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll figure it out together." A wave of adrenaline rushed through Sarah, charging her with both fear and hope. They were about to step into the unknown, facing a giant of a man in a world that seemed far removed from theirs. But maybe, just maybe, this journey would be worth every risk they were taking. As they finished jotting down their initial ideas, the cafe buzzed with a newfound energy. They were making progress. But just then, Sarah's phone buzzed, pulling her from the moment. The name flickered on the screen. Scott, her heart raced. Was he reaching out? What would he say? "Are you ready for this?" David asked, his eyes watching her intently. "I guess we're about to find out," she murmured, her pulse quickening as she reached for her phone. But what awaited them on the other side of that message might challenge everything they thought they were ready for. The moment of truth arrived, and both Sarah and David held their breath. Together they shared a sense of anticipation that wrapped around them, thick with possibility. Sarah opened the message, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. "Hello, Sarah. I appreciate your email. I'm intrigued by your proposal. Let us meet and discuss how we can work together." It was short, but the implications were enormous. "He wants to meet us," Sarah exclaimed, her heart soaring. The weight of doubt that had loomed over her dissipated, replaced by a rush of adrenaline. David grinned, excitement lighting up his features. "This is it. This could lead us somewhere amazing." But beneath the surface of their joy, fears lurked like uninvited guests. Would Scott really be open to their ideas? Could they bridge the vast chasm between their worlds? Sarah couldn't shake the thought that the man in the headlines was more than just a paralyzed billionaire. He was a person battling his own demons. And he could be just as skeptical of them as she was of him. As they prepared for their meeting, Sarah honed her presentation and plunged deeper into the core motivations behind her mission. She contemplated the stories of struggle and resilience that fueled her drive to create change. "I've got to remember this isn't just about us," she reminded David over their brainstorming sessions. "This is about everyone who feels marginalized. We can be their voice." David nodded, mirroring her determination. "Exactly. If we can connect with Scott on a human level, I think he'll respond. It's time we showed the world that vulnerability is powerful." The day of the meeting arrived, flush with potential but drenched in nerves. They walked towards the towering high-rise that housed Scott's office, each step heavy with excitement and anxiety. Inside, the crisp walls of glass reflected their doubts, yet also shimmered with hope. When Scott appeared in the meeting room, his presence commanding yet softened by a hint of curiosity, Sarah could see the man behind the CEO persona, a soul burdened yet yearning. "Thank you for coming," Scott said, his voice even, altering the atmosphere. "I want to hear what you have to say." As they began to share their stories, fear morphed into bravery. Sarah spoke of sleepless nights spent studying, of dreaming big for her children, and how the struggles of single parenthood shaped her vision. David discussed his own journey from the corporate ladder to confronting his paralysis and privilege, his voice steady yet filled with vulnerability. With each shared experience, walls began to erode, bringing them closer together. Scott's expression shifted, his initial skepticism transformed into understanding. "I've been trapped in my own fears," he admitted quietly. I forgot how to connect. But your passion inspires me. A glimmer of hope ignited within Sarah's heart. They were creating space, they were being seen. After hours of meaningful conversation that flowed freely, the trio outlined plans for community initiatives, forging connections that resonated far beyond charity. They envisioned workshops, storytelling sessions, and a shared digital platform that empowered voices long silenced. Together, three people from different spheres, they could challenge the status quo and bring the community together. As they wrapped up the meeting, Sarah felt as if layers of her past were shedding, revealing the vibrant, bold person she was destined to be. She and David would no longer just be dreamers. They were creators, capable of sparking change. Scott's words echoed in her mind after they left the polished office. Let us keep this momentum going. Your vision can change lives. Sarah and David stepped into the night air, vibrant and fresh. We really did it. David chuckled, disbelief lacing through his excitement. I can hardly believe Scott connected with our vision. Sarah felt a shiver of thrill shoot through her. Not just connected. He genuinely wants to be part of this journey. With laughter joining their voices, they shared dreams of what was to come. Each moment felt electric. Like the promise of a bright tomorrow tinged with the sweetness of work hard earned. And in the weeks that followed, their project flourished, letters of encouragement flooded in, and connections formed. Families were pulled together through shared experiences, laughter echoed in their meetings, victories shared over pizza nights and brainstorming sessions. As Sarah stood at the forefront of this blossoming community, she realized it was more than success. It was about validation, love, and finding purpose through shared struggle. Each moment filled her heart with radiance, bringing clarity to her once clouded vision. David and Scott became more than partners, they became family. All three learned what it meant to lift each other through their vulnerabilities. As they gathered at community events, the joy of that transformation unfolded, woven through burgeoning friendships and laughter that rang out around them. Then, during a celebratory picnic that marked their first community initiative's success, Sarah smiled at Jamie and Lily playing nearby, her heart brimming with pride. This is just the beginning, she whispered, softer but resonant. We're creating change for them, for everyone. As she looked up at David and Scott, sharing their laughter, she felt a profound sense of belonging. This was home, a heart woven together from shared dreams. And then a spark ignited within her, a reminder of the journey still ahead. Each challenge they faced together would illuminate the path they walked, creating a legacy of hope. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the field filled with families united, Sarah whispered, "Together, we can change the world." In that moment, as the future stretched limitless before them, everything felt possible. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support to our channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. And leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Your voice matters, and together, we can create lasting change.